Money creates creative freedom.
I need a manager so I can become more popular.
No one can provide you with success. So one of our first jobs with a creator is to help them to not worry about money so that they can be more creative with their time. It's brutal in its simplicity.
Have you identified any kind of pattern where you see this is a person worth investing into?
The things we look for, someone with very strong opinion. If they're approached by a management company, they should actively resist.
Where is the creator economy?
Everyone's criteria is, I need to make money. So you can be a high-paid freelancer or you can be the CEO of a business. It is marketing, it's not content. Creators that I can change their mind too easily are ones that concern me. It's really about what the creator wants to achieve. One of the most horrible things about the creator economy is how much of it is driven by FOMO.
Everybody's saying, oh, the platforms are saturated.
But people have been saying similar things forever.
I'm genuinely excited to sit down with you and get into the nitty-gritty of the creator world, what it means to be a creator, and what it means to manage creators. Because I feel like for many people, that's like a complete black box. And they're just like, ooh, I need a manager so I can become more popular or I can make more money or whatever the thinking is behind it. So maybe to start off, can you just give me a little bit of a rundown of what Ziggurat is, what you do there, and who the people are that you have on your roster?
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me, Valentin. So I've been a talent manager for 9 years, which is also when I started Ziggurat. And Ziggurat is a management company, and we specialize in YouTube creators producing factual entertainment. In America, for instance, people talk about edutainment.
Yes.
Generally speaking, we think of it as people who have some kind of subject matter expertise, they have a passion or an interest in a particular topic, and that they use their personality in order to engage their audience. We get referred to as the king of niches.
Okay.
But as far as I'm aware, 83% of YouTube content is in a niche. So I'm happy with that small world to operate in.
So who are some of the people that you do manage?
It's a really often common question I get.
Yeah.
Who do you manage? And it's really interesting playing kind of whack-a-mole to see when someone's eyes light up. I was recently at the Cannes Lions Festival of
Okay.
Creativity and meeting so many varied people and being like, okay, I think you know this person. But the names that often get most recognized, particularly if you're a middle-aged white guy, are James Hoffman, otherwise known
Yes.
as the Coffee Guy, a physicist, science communicator called Steve Mould, and for a long time we worked with the Slow Mo Guys, so one of the OG
Oh,
YouTube channels. If you are millennial Gen Z female, it's much more likely you're going to know Shanspeare or Unkali, or we recently signed a wonderful lady called Ashley Norton. Those are kind of the two spectrums, but we have 35 creators on our roster.
James Hoffman is definitely somebody I recognize. And
Do you drink
somebody
coffee?
I do. I bought many products because of him. I have one
Yep.
of his books, and it's always a joy to watch his videos. He's an incredibly good presenter, and I'm always fascinated by this skill.
He is, and one of the wonderful things to watch him work behind the scenes is that he doesn't script.
Really?
And so when you watch him filming, it is the culmination of years and years of experience, consulting in the coffee industry and doing the work. I can't believe there's not more jump cuts, given that's
Yeah.
the case. There are a
Uh,
few videos that are scripted, I will say.
But that is fascinating because I would have totally assumed he sits there with a prompter and has some lines. And when you say there are some that are scripted, I'm picturing one particular video he made about a automatic coffee maker that he filmed in a very expensive house, and he had this like 2-3 minute outro summary at the end that I was just like, I cannot believe there isn't a cut here.
Yeah, so that was filmed in a house in the middle of England called the Ghost House, and it was, I think, one of James's first experiences with a larger crew and a professional crew because we wanted to limit it to the day. It is somewhat scripted. There are beats and there are sections of dialogue that he wanted to keep so that he knew what he was saying in a section, but actually, a lot of it is still unscripted.
Yeah.
I'm actually in that video. Yeah.
Wait,
So
you're not the butler, right?
I am the butler. Yeah.
You are. Okay.
That was a great shoot, and it's not something that I do regularly, but I mean, one of the ways to enjoy your job is to have fun working with clients, and
Yeah.
James is
Yeah.
incredibly fun to work with.
So is your job as a manager to be kind of the person for everything, including playing a butler and renting a house, or is that a very special occasion and what your main focus is something else?
It really depends on the creator. There's actually been a lot of conversation about what managers do and what they don't do recently. From our perspective, we are access to expertise and resource to scale. When we talk to clients about what service we provide, it's those two things. More broadly, we help them create more money from their audience and increase the size of their audience. So for some of them, it's very transactional, operational, helping them find the right accountant, introducing them to legal support. Others, it's much more creative, and they're talking to us about thumbnails and creative strategy and what should I be doing next. And it really depends on the creator. So with James, we didn't organize that shoot. He had at the time a production assistant on staff, but we helped him hire that production assistant. And James will likely have spoken to me about the project beforehand of saying, I'm going to spend a bunch of money on this. What do you think of this project? What concerns might I have? And he then will have spoken at the time, I think, with his production assistant and our head of creative ops about kind of first time approaching a larger on-site project.
I mean, most people in my audience are still in a phase of growing an audience and
Mm.
increasing that size. So I'd be curious if you help people with that, what are the levers that you pull to make that happen?
So we categorize creators into three areas.
Hmm.
There's established, like James Hoffman. The second group is emerging creators. The next group down, which is nascent. All three of those groups want to make more money or make money. But established creators are particularly looking to make sure they're not losing out on any opportunities and they're maximizing that opportunity across the board, potentially also while stepping back or doing less. So it's about efficiency as well as maximization. The second group is emerging creators. That might be a creator who's actually been doing it for a while, but whose growth is still relatively small, and it's not so much about choosing between opportunities, it's about how to maximize impact. Or it might be someone who's started really recently but is growing relatively fast, and so still they need to make the most of the resource they've got. I would presume that your audience sits somewhere between that and the next group down, which is nascent. Nascent is
Hmm.
where they're probably not making enough money to replace their income. They're doing it part time. It's a hobby, um, or they're not seeing enough traction to generate enough income yet. That first group is a group that I would say do not need a management company.
Right.
And if they're approached by a management company, they should actively resist signing with them. Um, the reason for that is that for a nascent creator, no one can provide you with success. It's not the same as music A&R management, where a producer that finds an artist early on can make their career. And they normally make that career by gatekeeping that they do in order to hold as much value as possible. But that's also why music managers will take 50 to 80% of their artists' income because they so called made them.
Hmm.
One of the most wonderful things about working in this industry is there are no gatekeepers. I can't stop or help someone to be successful uh, in the sense of introducing you to people or uh, allowing you to publish on YouTube. It's a wonderfully democratized industry, and actually, first and foremost, the person has to put in the work and understand how to make it profitable. One of the things we find the most with nascent creators is talking about the algorithm and when they should be uploading and
Hmm.
all the received wisdom and all the time that they spend talking about everything other than actually making content. And that's why one of the reasons we don't work with that group is there's so much information out there. We end up just saying, please stop listening to that. Don't do that. Just make more videos and concentrate on your videos. It's brutal in its simplicity. Whereas emerging creators are an area where when you help someone to decide where they should be spending their energy and where they're going to get the maximum return, that's where someone with expertise can really help to make sure that that time is as short as possible before becoming more established. But that doesn't need to be a manager. That could be a strategist. It could be a PA that helps you to spend more time doing the thing you need to do. It could be an entertainment lawyer.
It is fascinating, the different views, right? Because I know way too many people who get obsessed with the details and what is currently the trend or how to find the next growth hack or whatever. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you very often just see the simple truth of just do the work
Mm.
and it will pay off.
Out of all of our clients,
Mm-hmm.
I would say probably only one or two of them are still overly obsessed with the analytics. Almost all the other ones either would struggle to find where to look
Mm-hmm.
or don't pay attention to it unless something's gone wrong.
Interesting.
James is a wonderful example to me. He, as soon as he finishes a video or it's approved, he pushes it live.
Oh, wow.
No matter what time or day, he just puts it live because the headspace that James gets back from not even thinking about it so that he can concentrate on something which is hopefully a higher return effort for him is significant.
But I'm sure you've seen way more creators than most people
Mm-hmm.
and seen how they develop. So, have you identified any kind of pattern where you see this is a person worth investing into, or this is a person where they have a higher likelihood of being a sustainable creator? Or is it all just a gamble?
The things we look for, someone with very strong opinions.
Mm-hmm.
That might sound counterintuitive to an organization that prides itself on giving advice. You'd think that actually someone with strong opinions we would clash with, but some of the best relationships I've had with creators are where I feel like I'm talking to a sculptor. They know what they're trying to sculpt, and I'm part of the tool. So when I advise them or I give them a suggestion, actually what I hear is yes, no, that's not good, that's good, or tell me more. And it's really them just chipping away the marble. They already have in their mind, and I'm just part of the support. I'm just the chisel. Creators that I can change their minds too easily are ones that concern me. Because if I'm the guiding impetus and the vision for what they're trying to do, it means they're too light a ship in the storm. And can be easily moved around, and that's just inefficient, and it means that there's no central guiding purpose. It's not that we're looking for someone to be perfect; it's for someone who understands they're not yet where they want to be, and that we can help them get to where they want to be, and give them confidence in their own opinion. When someone says to us, if we say, "Oh, your videos are too long," and they're like, "Oh, why is 4 hours too long?" We're like, I'm not sure how we can meet in the middle on this. I don't know how. It's going to take us too long for us to educate you in this process. I think more specifically for us, those with an entrepreneurial mindset. I'm not talking about starting a business or being money focused, but that they think about what they do as a business and
Mm-hmm.
and needing to make money and it being a partnership and that we're in this together to make money as well as because money creates creative freedom. When you're a nascent YouTube creator and you're not making enough for the time you put in, your thoughts and your decisions are shrouded in this negativity. So one of our first jobs with the creator is to help them to not worry about money so that they can be more creative with their time. And someone who thinks about that as being a positive loop is someone who's in the right mindset with us. They agree with us.
And so when it comes then to the making money part, the entrepreneurial side of YouTube, of content creation, how do you support creators with that? What are the buttons that you push for that?
The first one that all creators that we would work with want to be able to push is brand sponsorships.
Yeah.
And partly because it can be a third of most creators' income. So if that can be the case, and it's that there's that much money on the table, why would you not? It's also the easiest way for us to enter a relationship with a creator and get paid for our time. So we charge 20% for all the commercial deals in which we're involved,
Hmm.
and for that you get access to all of the expertise and resource that someone can provide during that time. So if you ask us about anything else, we will talk to you for hours and project manage things completely unrelated to sponsorships. It's how we fund the relationship. After that, it's really about what the creator wants to achieve. Because if they do want to have a business and they want to hire people and they want to have product, then that's what we will support them trying to do. And it's about providing them the infrastructure to do that internally. If it is on the other side to make as much money efficiently from the content they're producing, then using social media, newsletters, um, syndication on Facebook and whatnot, that's that's the other route. We have an internal creative team that can support that, but also there are other third parties that do this. Really, for us, it's about finding the right partner for the creator for them to be able to do what they want to achieve. I liken it to the fact that there are kind of two ends of the spectrum for a creator. You can be a high paid freelancer, or you can be the CEO of a business. And I think the thing that's getting too much airtime at the moment is creators scaling and want to
Hmm.
be the boss of a 20-person team and like exit for hundreds of $1 million. That's the 0.001%. It's also only one choice.
So what I'm kind of curious, because we kind of dancing around this like whole creator economy
Mm,
question. There's, maybe this is just my perspective, but I see a lot of people being nervous about the future of it, experiencing, I would call the normalization, but most people call the downturn, because there was just a very high influx of viewership of audience during the pandemic, and
mm.
that's just, we're in a normal world, like, or can you, we're in a normal world right now. And then there's everybody saying, oh, the platforms are saturated. So I'm very curious to hear your perspective on that. Where is the creator economy in from your perspective?
I'm a big fan of history. I
Hmm.
and I think sometimes it's useful as each generation of creators come into the creator economy just to talk to someone who's been doing something for long enough just to give the perspective of history. I'm not saying that I've been doing this 10 years. I can't say that I've been doing this forever. Uh, but people have been saying similar things forever, since the beginning. And actually, I think it's really useful to try and ask people about what seems like a unique change and look at data that might support that. So, COVID is really a good example of a unique change, but one that when you look at the data that then follows COVID, that it was a peak of passive viewing increase. People had more time on their hands. Um, that then decreased, but global audience figures are still increasing because of market saturation from YouTube, but also the population keeps increasing and new
Hmm.
generations come on board. For example, YouTube was one of the saw the biggest rise in silver surfers, so to speak. They didn't leave. They have come to the platform and have stayed on using the platform. And YouTube is has one of the highest preference ratings for over 45s out of all the other platforms. So when we talk about the fact that the young people came and then they went back to school or they went back to uni or they went back to their jobs, that's true at a large scale, but it's not true as a mass statement across all data since COVID for all viewerships. And so I try to think about how does that information affect me actually? So people have less time to watch content, uh, but specifically which audiences now watch less content. hasn't the audience size actually, in absolute terms, still increased since COVID? And my argument would be that the quality of the views has returned to a level playing field. Another comment that I often hear a lot, especially from people I'm interviewing, is attention spans are getting worse.
Yes.
And actually, attention spans are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a study recently where they looked at young people. I can't remember what the age criteria was, but young people's attention span has basically stayed the same for the last 20 years. But adults' attention spans has steadily kept increasing year on year for the last 20 years. Our ability to pay attention over long periods of time has actually increased. So the next time someone says to you, I can't get YouTube viewers on my YouTube long form video because attention spans are worse and I live in the attention economy, point out to them that's not the case. Is their video just not very good?
Yeah.
And I hate to come back to is your video not very good, but the process of YouTube is experimentation and improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when we talk about attention span and the popular opinion that it is dropping, a lot of advice out there is just make more short form content. Not just because of the attention span, but also that is how you build an audience in 2025. Make as much content as possible and distribute it everywhere.
Okay, so there's a few things that I would unpack there. First of all, let's start with the last point first. Distributing it everywhere. Generally speaking, audiences have a platform preference. One of the best places to look, the Pew Research Center in the US produces social media preference and platform social media consumption surveys every year, and they provide indications of what age groups demographics like each platform and what their highest preferences are. What that tells me is that there is a percentage of every demographic that will not move. They only want to watch content on Instagram or TikTok or Reddit or YouTube, and no matter what you ask them to do, they will not move. We also did a study about 2 years ago using paid ads to ask a user to move between a platform, to look at something on another platform, to see what the conversions rates were when that's all we asked them to do. Like the ad was, hey, do you like Steve Mold? You would like Steve Mold on Facebook. And we did a bunch of ads in different directions to work out what the friction was between moving between the platforms. And although it's a very brute force test, who really wants to click on an ad just saying go over here? The friction between the platforms was incredibly high. It was negligible, the movement between the platforms. And so, first of all, the idea that put your content everywhere is questionable. Unless you want to grow an audience on TikTok and Instagram as a YouTuber, in order to get them to do something on that platform, don't do it. You're just growing your Instagram to talk to them in a different place. With regard to shorts on YouTube, I think shorts are a great part of a marketing strategy, not a content strategy, a marketing strategy, because shorts help reach a wider audience. There is an element of randomness there. They are recommended differently to the algorithm for the long form, and they can be part of a top of funnel. But they're not a content strategy unless you are a short form content producer. As a long form content producer, it is marketing, it's not content. And my advice to clients generally has been to produce 2 to 3 shorts per long form piece of content, but to think about actually how much time you're investing in marketing, which you're not investing in content. Because if your content could be better, if your long form content could be better, and you objectively know what you need to improve and what you need to invest in, why are you making 10 shorts? Because you're doing it because you have a monkey brain. We all have monkey brains, and it's easier to make a short and get some endorphins
Yeah.
and be like, oh, that did really well, and play the game rather than doing the hard work and working on the long form video that is harder to do, and then you're worried about it tanking, and then it makes you feel really unhappy. Yeah, that's why you're making the shorts.
But when we talk specifically about YouTube and YouTube Shorts, in that case, do you see people moving from the short form content to the long form content? Because that is a debate I've had many times.
Channels that publish not infrequent shorts, not infrequently,
Mm-hmm.
see a greater long form performance than if they hadn't. You have to look at the long form views and not the short form views, because obviously, if you're just looking at views generally, the short form views just inflate the figure
Yes.
ridiculously. If you're approaching it as a content strategy, you're making independent, separate shorts that you think people are then going to come to your long form for. That's like sending emails with jokes in them and you run a supermarket, thinking people are going to come to the shop. And I've taken it a bit extreme, but
Yeah, but I get the point.
whereas short form videos, which are of and about your long form content, that is a marketing funnel that does work.
You have given me reason to rethink the usefulness of short form content.
I can give a few examples. So there are 4 clients that we work with
Mm-hmm.
who also produce shorts regularly enough for what I'm talking about. Plasma Channel, Steve Mould, 42, and Wicked Makers, although they haven't done so for a while. All 4 of those channels were publishing short form content that related and drove long form views, and
Mm-hmm.
all of them had an increase in long form that was proportional and timely to the short form publication.
When you say it was created to drive traffic to the long form, does it mean it is a separate created piece of content, or is it just like taken out of the longer piece?
Steve Mould does standalone videos that are short bites of what he does in longer form videos. From my perspective, they're not calling out and saying, now watch this video, but they are absolutely the same creative purpose. So if you like one, you're going to like his long form videos. He's not using a different muscle in his body. It's the same expression, they're just shorter. So that's custom made.
Mm-hmm.
Plasma Channel and 42 do slightly, they're the same, they're parts of long form videos that they will reshoot pieces to camera. And that's, I think, one of the easiest ways of reusing long form content is just recording new narrative or new pieces to camera. That fits with those 2 creators because they use a lot of voiceover and there's a lot of other additional footage. Wicked Makers, there was a mixture of scripted and unscripted editions. It wasn't just how do I cut up my long form and make it fit.
Now, before we get completely lost in the nitty gritties of like developing a content strategy,
Yeah.
I do want to tackle one question that's probably on everybody's mind, and that is, how do I find a manager and when is the right time? Or do you find them? Like that is the black box that nobody has an answer to.
Both. Let's presume that you're a small creator, and that's the reason that you're starting to look out. Look for creators that you admire, you think that they must make good business decisions, you're thoughtful about how they do their work, and you trust their opinion. Go and look and to see if their email address is a management company.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, if they are represented, their email address will be their manager's email address, and email them. You can also, if it's not the manager's email address, contact them anyway and
Mm-hmm.
ask, are you represented and can you recommend your representation? The second part is do this multiple times. Do not just take one creator's recommendation and just work with them straight away. I wish this wasn't the case, and maybe this is it's probably fine this is the case, but creators are the worst people at giving advice to each other. I'm sorry to say this. I wish this wasn't the case, but you are absolutely horrendous. I mean, I'm talking broad generalizations.
Yes.
creators think that anyone who's not a creator has almost no validity in their opinion because they're not a creator, and how would they know? And therefore, any creators they do talk to and ask for advice, they take it as absolutely true, despite the fact that the other creator has typically only one source of information, which is their own ridiculous decisions that they've made poorly over the last 5 years, including their management company. So that's the kind of the research part.
Mm-hmm.
When you should work with a manager is when you have too much opportunity and not enough time. That could be cash, like you literally can't negotiate the brand deals well enough, and there's money sitting that could be paid to someone else. But it could also just be, I could be doing these 5 things, and I think all of them could be making me money, but I don't know what to do with it. And that is a time when a manager could provide a lot of expertise and insight. The challenge I'll say is that most management companies are not managers, they are agents. And it's a distinction that I want to keep trying to reiterate in our industry, in that an agent works on brand deals and they do commercial work and they have limited interest or skill in doing anything else. Sometimes the bad situation is they have an interest but no skill, or they will express an interest as a means of retaining you as a client, but still no skill.
Mm-hmm.
What we hear a lot from our clients is their previous managers, they would say, my video is not doing very well. What do you think of the thumbnail? And the manager will say, or the agent will say, I don't know. That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you stay on your side of the fence, I'll stay on mine. Or they will give them 5 minutes of bad advice about a thumbnail because they just don't have the experience or skill set in order to do it. So if you're thinking about getting support, if it's brand deals, an agent will do you fine, and they will be able to. They should be able to pay for themselves because you are turning down opportunities and money, or they're getting you the right rate for you that you didn't get before. A manager, their criteria is probably higher in that there needs to be a broader range of opportunities to work on, which is the case for us. But they also should have the experience to back it up. And that's when, if you're having a conversation with a manager, you ask for receipts. You ask for actual projects they've worked on. You ask for recommendations you ask to talk to the creators that have done that work. The manager will say, oh, it's difficult to talk about it because, it's confidential. We'll say, can they introduce you to the other creator? And then have the conversation with the creator. And that's a great time to trust a creator's word. If you're asking them very specifically about their experience with a specific project. Well, that's maybe another point, is that expectations from creators are so low, partly because a lot of management are agents and do almost nothing. And so when they do think about what else they need, or they want to set up a newsletter or launch a product, and they're like, it's almost just like they're just wandering around being like, what? No one can help me. I have an agent. He doesn't help. They don't help me. So who can help me? And they end up just getting advice from the salesperson at the platform that can provide the solution.
Yeah. When you think of a creator who is in this kind of no man's land between having put in the work, maybe is a little bit too lost in the analytics dashboard and is not yet at a point where they have a manager or feel comfortable having a manager. What is your advice to them? Like, what should they focus on?
It's one of two things. Firstly, it's the creative. Like the quality of the creative or the creative strategy is the thing that has the greatest opportunity for scale. That if you put time in, that you get a greater return of an investment of your time on. You could, if you spent 10 hours a week on, I don't know, community engagement or making Instagram posts, it's unlikely to move the needle anywhere near as much if you spent that same time on pre-production or writing or post-production templates or whatever. So there's that. If that isn't really, if you're starting to get to the kind of decreasing returns in that regard, then it's resource, because a virtual assistant could work for you half a day a week and go through your emails or do something for a really cheap amount of money. Depending on how immoral you are, you could get someone for €5 an hour from an East Asian country who won't do a bad job. Let's not denigrate what they're doing. You're just paying them too little for the value you're receiving. They can do a good job. We had a creator who had an assistant producer based in India who was fantastic, and we just kept on saying to the creator, "You just need to pay them more.
Mm.
You can afford to. They're great, giving you a great amount of value. You should pay them more." And whether that is a VA or someone that can give you more time back, but isn't necessarily, but you're not right at the time yet to be able to get a manager. That also might be AI. Now,
Okay.
AI is incredibly useful for content generation if you're thinking about things you did wrong. But behind the scenes, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, you should be using these tools as a third party who you can have dialogue with. One of the worst things as a creator is you have no dialogue. You can't talk to anyone about what you're doing, your creative ideas, because you're sat at home or you've got a studio, your mum doesn't know what you do, and all of your mates think that you're having a great time because you're a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to talk to you about your thumbnails. But ChatGPT will talk to you about your thumbnails. You don't have to ask ChatGPT, how do I improve my thumbnails? But you can ask it to go through a process with you of how you should be assessing your thumbnails. If you asked AI questions about how you can improve things rather than how it can improve things, you will get a better return on your inputs. Too many people think of AI as AI slop because the AI is going to produce the content instead of you. But AI is an amazing assistant for helping you do better. I ask it to give input to me, not the decision. I still make the decision. I still have and I learn a lot more from the process because it's about me improving, not it making something for me.
You just mentioned the core challenge of 90% of creators I know. The fact that they have nobody to talk to, that it is incredibly lonely.
Mm.
And I mean, I think the obvious question is, with the roster that you have, is that something that still happens at that level? Do you facilitate collaboration, connection between those creators? Um, and any other thoughts you have on this, how to solve this situation?
First of all, it is almost ubiquitous in being a common concern. Um, the only time I don't hear about this is when it's a established creator living in a major city that has other established creators in there, and then there's a bit of a community of people they know them. It happens in London, it happens in LA, it happens in New York. However, one of the nice things about it is that because so many people are spread all over the world, if there's a creator that you know who's a similar size, message them and just ask to have 15 minutes time. You'll be surprised at how quickly they reply and say, "Love to, can't wait. Can we do it right now?" I've just been sitting staring at my screen for the last 3 hours about an edit. Do you want to just have a phone call? More and more young adults are spending more time on their own than they did 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And more is true of people work in the workplace. And that actually we are avoiding human interaction more. We are deliberately not talking to strangers. We are anxious about talking to people as strangers, despite the fact studies show that when we do talk to strangers, we actually have a really significant improvement in mental health. And I feel like this should be zoomed in down to creators and just be like, message another creator today and just say, I watch your content, I like what you do. Would you like to have a conversation? Even if you're introverted and a call would not be enjoyable to you, can you say, can we WhatsApp each other? Can I send you pictures of my shoot today? You'll be surprised how many will be like, yeah, I'm lonely too.
Yeah. to put a bow on this, I usually ask these questions to all the creators on the show. So I'm extremely curious to see your perspective of, as a manager, as somebody who spends a lot of time in the creator economy, what does success look like for you?
I want Ziggurat to be the management company that people choose between. So when people say, "Oh, I need to get a manager," it's about, okay, I want to work with Ziggurat, but who else should I try and work with? Not that we want to be enormous. I don't want to be the biggest management company in the world. I want to be the one with the enviable roster that people want to be a part of. It's a community, and when people say to us, "Oh, you're with Ziggurat, you're so lucky," that's and we already have that to an extent, but only in certain genres. And I want that to be the opportunity where everyone across any genre has the ability to engage with the resource and expertise we have. That's what I want to achieve.
Amazing. So now, if people are curious about you, what you do, what's the best place to find you to stay in your orbit?
Best place is to find me on LinkedIn and follow me on LinkedIn. But I will also say that just because you might be a nascent creator or you might not be in the genres we work with, we have an attitude at Ziggurat where we treat every creator as if we already work with them. So message us if you are concerned or upset or just lonely. Email hello@zigguratxyz.com. It comes to me, and we will talk to you about it. And if there's someone we know that we can introduce you to, or you're worried about a newsletter, it actually takes us 5 minutes just to be like, hey, you should talk to this person. And we'd rather do that than you just spend a lot of time scrabbling around talking to idiots.
Brilliant. Charles, this was such a goldmine of a conversation.
Me too. I
really
enjoyed it.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Valentin.
Hey, if you're new here, my name is Valentin. This show is called Orbit for Creators. And if you're still watching, it would be awesome if you could subscribe. But if you want to be extra awesome, go share this video with a friend, because that is what we do here. We forget the algorithm and create with friends. All right, that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.